Okay, we're going to look at a subset of the group of complex numbers called imaginary numbers and complex numbers. We're going to have pure imaginary and some complex numbers that have both an imaginary part and a real part. For example, pure imaginary numbers would be something like 7i, negative 6i, 2i root 2. Those are pure imaginary. They have just an imaginary part. As opposed to a complex number that could be something like 3 plus 2i. It has a real part and an imaginary part. Something like 7 minus 2i, 16 plus 36i. Those are complex numbers. They have real parts and imaginary parts. Now, when you're dealing with complex numbers, you're going to be adding them, subtracting them, multiplying them in solving problems. So, in this first one, simple addition, you add the real parts and the imaginary parts. First, I'm going to rewrite the problem. 3 plus 4i plus 3 minus 8i. Then I'm going to look for the real parts first. 3 and 3, 6. Then I'll look for the imaginary parts. 4i and minus 8i, combining like terms, minus 4i. That is an answer. All right, here we go. Here's a subtraction. First, write it without the grouping symbols. 3 plus 4i minus 3 plus 8i. Combine like terms. 3 minus 3, 0. 4 and 8, 12i. There's no real part in that answer. That's okay. You could think of it as 0 plus 12i if you like to think of it in the complex form. All right, here's another one, multiplication. This one's a little bit tricky, so watch what happens. 3 times 3, 9. Let's do the middle term. 3 times 8i, negative 24i. 4i times 3 plus 12i. 4i times negative 8i is negative 32i squared. All right, what happens here? Well, I can combine this part with this part. Ooh, this I should rewrite. Anyone know what that happens there? What's I squared? I hope you know it's negative 1. So this becomes a plus 32. Do you see that? So this answer becomes, if I add 32 and 9, what do I get? 41 minus 12i. Do you know how I got the minus 12i? Plus 24, minus 24 plus 12. Okay, so here's some more examples of simplifying complex numbers. All right, you notice here I have 3i times 2i minus 1 squared. Can I do the 3i times both of those? No. What do I do first? I have to do that first. Okay. So 3i, and then I'm going to put a bracket here. 2i squared is 4i squared. Middle term, 2i times negative 1 is negative 2i times 2, negative 4i. Square the last term, plus 1. Now, if you can't do this shortcut, remember you can always write this out twice and use the shortcut method FOIL. All right, at this point, I'm going to simplify before I multiply the 3i. So let's simplify. I know I squared is negative 1. So this part becomes negative 4 plus 1, so I have negative 3 minus 4i. Now I'll multiply the 3i in, so I get negative 9i minus 12i squared. I squared is negative 1, so I get negative 9i plus 12. And the form of complex numbers, it's best practice to write the real part first. So 12 minus 9i is a better answer, although both are indeed correct. All right, here's another complex number. To simplify, you might think, well, there's really not much I can reduce. Cannot reduce that 4 with that 4 because this whole group has to stay together. So let's put parentheses. But then I noticed that I is really a radical, and you can't have radicals in the bottom of a fraction. So let's multiply the top and the bottom by the number 1. You know I mean some special form of 1, of course. And the form is the conjugate of this. Do you remember what that is? 2 plus 4i. And the top has to be exactly the same because I'm multiplying by 1. I'm not changing the value. I'm making it look different. Okay. So we're doing the bottom first here. It's a little bit easier. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 4 times plus 4 is negative 16i squared. Remember, we chose this so there's no middle term. Let's do the top now. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 4, 16i. 3 times 2, negative 6i. 3 times 4, negative 12i squared. This becomes a positive 12. Add like terms together, so 8 and 12, we've got 20 on the top, plus 10i, all over 4 plus 16 is 20. Now, I need to reduce this. Can I reduce that 20 with that 20? Hope you said no. Let's factor out first. Remember, parenthesis goes here. So, when I factor out a 10, 2 plus I over 20, now do you see what happens? Cross out the 10. So, 2 plus I all over 2. I like the parenthesis there. There we go. Okay, last one here. This one says find the reciprocal of 4 plus I. So, let's rewrite it over here. So, 4 plus I is a number. Then its reciprocal, the reciprocal is 1 over 4 plus I. How do I simplify that? Can I leave it like that? Well, it looks like it's simplified with one little catch. That I is a radical, and radicals aren't allowed in the bottom of fractions. So let's put a parenthesis. Let's multiply by 1 to make it look different. What do you think I should use for the form of 1? 4 minus I. 4 minus I. Okay, multiplying that out. The top, 4 minus I. The bottom, 16 minus I squared. No middle term. That's why we chose the conjugate. Okay, top, 4 minus I. Bottom, 16 plus 1, 17. There we go. That was easy. You get to try some now.